So whoever decided that we should speak about technical debt in the second day in the afternoon definitely want you asleep. And they gave me 1 hour. I can put you asleep in a half, actually. No, don't leave the room yet. My presentation is usually meme-driven, so hopefully it's going to be fun in a way, and I'm going to allocate time because I believe the questions is the real value. So when we say debt here, just to be clear, it's not your bank loan debt. I cannot help you with that. I wish I could. What I mean in this context is technical debt. So let's start. In 2010, our game Star Stable Online used to be a single-player game. Then, I don't know the real story, but I imagine something like this. OGs from my company went to Old Town, went to a coffee shop, and they ordered coffee. And they came with this crazy idea. This one is not working well. And that's something you should not try at home or at your studio, is making a single-player game, multiplayer game. The same game, it's single-player game, let's make it multiplayer, how hard it could be. We're still paying the prices until today. So that was really big call. Still, that was the birth of Star Stable Online, the game that we are working on today. So that's how it all started. What a lot of people don't know about Star Stable, which is when you speak about the MMO game company, horse game for girls, is actually we have our own engine, we have our own editor and tools, we have our own server architect, and scripting language. Why anyone would have their own scripting language instead of using Python or Lua? Because it's cool. That's why. I believe some guy, you know what, let's make our scripting language. Let's do it, and that's it. So that's how we end up having our own scripting language. Our game is available on Windows, Mac, and iOS, and Android. And it is cross-platform. And I had the privilege to be part of porting to Metal on Mac. I was part of porting to iOS and porting to Android. So I have done this journey. 12 years of content and tech to these platforms. So let's summarize this. So our game, or before that, actually, I need to speak about our target audience. Our target audience for our game, they are 8 years plus. So we are not in good position to tell them to buy the latest graphic card or the latest fancy technology. It's not the case. What happens, because they are a younger audience, they usually inherit the devices from their parents. And like this. I really need to change this slide. It looks like a Ponzi scheme. It's not a Ponzi scheme. It's basically kids inheriting devices from their parents. And I mean ancient devices, super old laptops, super old mobile. And there's a name. We know we all have that really friend that we like to work and play with, but they have an old device. There's a name for that in the gaming community. Who knows what that name? When a really old device, we say you play on a something. Anyone knows? Yes, exactly. It's a potato. That's what we call when someone... So our game needs to run on a potato. And that's going to be the biggest potato you see on the screen in your life. So enjoy it a bit. Cool. So now we can summarize this. This clicker is really hard to work with. Yeah. So we have our own technology, all in-house. And we run on multiple platforms, cross-platforms, and it needs to perform on a potato device. Is that challenging enough? Right? For us, no. Let's make it even more difficult. So what we did, or decided to do, to release every week. We release weekly. Man, this one is really difficult. Yeah. So for the last 13 years, we released every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we released a new content, nonstop. So how our games looks like from consumer perspective, which is horse game for girls, Pinky, compare how it's in reality in production, aggressive release, multiple platforms, own technology, it looks something like this. So this is how our game looks like from player perspective. And this is how it looks for us who work on the game. Cool. So Yeah, a little bit about me. My name is Ali. I am a senior producer at Star Stable Entertainment. And I have 40 people in my teams. I have 4 teams. I build technology for the company. Beside my role as a senior producer, I have the privilege to be the board member at Future Games in Stockholm, at the Game Assembly in Stockholm, and I will be the head of game course, or producer course in Warsaw. It's so random, I know. But I do a lot of stuff, I have a lot of energy, I need to put it out, and I'm active in social media. So if you're gonna connect on LinkedIn, I'm gonna spam your feed, sorry about that. You don't need to read, just like my post and move on. Cool, enough about me, and I know you're here because you care about this topic. How many of you work with tech? Nice. How many of you do have a technical person in your teams? Cool. So, you're here for a reason because you either work with tech or someone is working in technology. Why this topic is so important? Because not battling technical debt in a correct way could literally lead to the end of your game, product, whatever. It's so dangerous that actually at some point you could lose your product completely because you lost the mark. The technical debt becomes super blocking for you, super hard for you to push content. And I'm gonna bring 13 years of experience from my company and put it in front of you. So hopefully you're gonna leave with a practical roadmap and something you can act on. Before we move on, I need to say, technical debt, a lot of people believe it's only connected with old technology. Actually, it's not the case. Usually it is. Even though you're working with the latest cutting-edge engines, cutting corners to be faster to market could lead to technical debt. So we need to remember that. So the first step to battle technical debt, which is the simplest and the hardest, to say no. You need everyone to be on board to say, you know what, from now on, no more technical debt. It sounds simple, it is the hardest point. There's no way you can battle technical debt if you are not onboarded and in agreement with everyone that, yes, no more technical debt. What does that mean? That means that we're not gonna add any technical debt at all. It sounds difficult, it sounds really hard. Like, we know sometimes we need to have some deadlines, we have some players' expectation, we have a lot of things we need to push. That's fine. Let's be realistic. When you cannot have your code to ultimate or whatever feature to the level that you believe it's a good shape, so you have some technical debt, it's fine, you can do that, but your next step, immediately after pushing to live, it needs to fixing that immediately. And that's how we are doing it. And since we have decided that, and it was a few years ago, we never added any technical debt at all. In the worst case scenario, we put it only for a week or 2, months or 2, but then we immediately prioritize fixing that. So it's super important to have everyone onboarded with no more technical debt, and you need to have the courage to say, no, I'm not gonna do it this way. So I see a lot of companies, they acknowledge there's technical debt, but they don't spend time to understand their technical debt. And that's something you need to give yourself and your team. You need to sit down and understand, okay, this is how it looks like right now. And when you do that, you need to understand what each complexity or each technical debt affects what modules. Then you can have a technical roadmap, debt roadmap in front of you. You know exactly what you should fix first. Because if you fix A, that will lead you to fix B, which will lead to C. So when you do that, you know exactly what to focus on next. How you can make this even more appealing, because this will never happen that a management come to you or directors and say, you know what, spend half a year refactoring the animation system. This will never happen. They will always come to you asking for more features, for more whatever. This will never happen. The only way for you to fight for technical debt is to connect it with the business goals by saying, you know what, if we fix this module, it will allow us to do this one, which allows us to do faster animation, which means we can do things faster. So the only way to fight for technical debt with the management is to connect it with actually business goals. And when you do that, when you have the understanding what to do, then you have a roadmap in front of you. You know exactly, I need to start here because this unlocks this, or this one unlocks multiple, so different teams can work on multiple things. So you need to spend time understanding your technical debt, connected with business value, and move on. And also notice that when technical debt is present, especially if you are using your own technology, a lot of users will assume that a lot of things isn't possible. It's just like they have used for a lot of constraints, a lot of limitation. So when they try to do something, they feel like, yeah, maybe it's not possible. So they start add extra level of constraints from their brains. So like actually, so when I look at users, speak to them, they even not ask us if this is something possible. They just used to work on constraints. So you need to educate your users. You need to keep reminding them what's possible with this current technology, and you will be surprised how many of them not utilizing what is in hand. I'm not saying there's no constraints. There are constraints, but they make it even worse. And when you speak about users, you know what scares me more than the tax agency in Sweden? A happy user coming with a request. Because when users are mad, because something is not functional, they come to you and say, the editor is crashing, this feature is causing this. You fix it for them and they're happy. But when they come to you and smiling, that means they have spent the whole weekend picking mushrooms in the forest and think about something extremely undoable and crazy. And it happened to me many times. And do you know what they ask me when they come with crazy ideas? Ali, I have a question for you, with a smile, of course. Like, sure, how can I help you? Why we don't move to Unreal? Or Unity? It's like, are you kidding me? Like, 13 years of technology, in-house tools, that's just and content. I mean, technically it's possible, but realistically it will take effort and cost, and we have a game that it's a live game. So they will ask you to go to Unreal or Unity, which is weird. And sorry, I had to do this. I'm not satisfied yet with the Unity approach. It's over now. Cool. So, finding time to work on technical debt is difficult because the higher up want something to bring revenue. So even though you try to connect business debt with business goals, technical debt with business goals, they might still fight against that. So one way of doing it, and we have been doing that in one of my teams for years, and it's super effective. What we did, as simple as that. Who is using Jira or Asana? Yeah, all of you, perfect. As simple as you add a new ticket type. So you have task, bugs, stories. Now we have a new ticket type, it's called technical debt, tech debt. New icon, perfect. You identify all the technical debt tickets, and now they have a new type. What you need to do, 1 ticket per sprint. A recipe. Always, 1 ticket, it's not much. 1 ticket per sprint, of course, in a good size. You cannot pick something that's massive. It needs to be a ticket size, your typical ticket size. If it's so big, you break it down to multiple technical debt tickets. By doing 1 ticket a sprint for years, we solved big portion in our technical debt in one area. Unbelievable. 1 ticket a sprint. Please, no one say that isn't possible. It's 1 ticket a sprint, that's it. And we have that someone in our teams would love to work on technical debt. They enjoy it, man. I know some people are really enjoying technical debt. So utilize that. So do that 1 ticket a sprint, and you will see how far you can go without allocating crazy time for technical debt. And you need to take every chance to fight technical debt. Every time you touch a code, and you get a chance to improve that code base, if it's old, take it, always. They come to me sometimes and say, hey, I'm fixing this animation system, for example, and I can spend extra week and can make the code a lot nicer. You know what to do it immediately. You need to take every chance when you touch an old code to refactor the code. By doing that, you're fighting technical debt with baby steps, 1 ticket every sprint, every time you touch it, you end up fighting technical debt in a good balance. Sadly, technical debt complexity and time to fix is not one-to-one relationship. 1 month's technical debt, 1 year technical debt doesn't mean 1 year is enough to fix it. It's actually never the case. It's exponentially complex, and time will be takes even more time, despite that you're focusing on new features and new content. Because those technical debt will be connected, and the dependency will become so complex, so we'll end up really nasty spaghetti. Takes way more time to tackle, to understand. So it's not one-to-one relationship, and we need to understand that. So we need to be patient. We need to do it the slow approach, and that's the only way. If you just go and fight technical debt, like you spend your whole time doing it, I don't believe you will be happy with the results, because you will be tired, and you might not see the results as fast as you're expecting. But when you do it slowly without affecting the production, that's the right approach. And this is really important because I know a lot of you, hopefully you can go and take that to your teams. We are humans and we need to play safe, especially when it's in game is in live service, for example. So what happens, we need to do the safe changes. I mean, it's technical that we do something super safe, like module aside, if we do this, we'll improve this by 1 FPS or something. And I've seen teams try to squeeze as much as nice, small things safe to change. That's fine, that's nice, but you won't see the results that you really want. The only way to do that, go and change that module scares the shit of everyone. Like that module, you know when you're gonna change, things will collapse in production, people will be panicking, a lot of bugs will appear, we will have some crashes in life. Yes, that's what will happen. But this is the only way of actually moving forward. When you do that with one module, or one feature, or one code base, whatever, you will see what will happen. The team will be a lot braver, yeah, let's do it. For example, in my teams, we have been talking about changing the UI system for years. We have been talking about rendering refactor, which is scary. It's literally changed OpenGL on Metal and everything, and it's super difficult. And we need to create a system that tracks all our actors. So all complex systems. We have been talking about them for years. We did nothing. Only research, then we ended up doing something super minor aside. Now we're doing all of them at once. Because we did one big module before them, it worked really well. My teams right now, as we speak, working on a new UI system for our game, 400 hours of content, if not more. 2 of them working on the rendering refactor for the whole game, and 2 people working on a UI system. At once. Because we gained this confidence by doing one big challenge, and we won. And you will. Because people are super talented, and if they're serious about fixing it, they will. So you need some trust, and you need to do it. So I just need to put this out there so you know that you need to really be brave about this. Cool. When you have a really heavy technical debt, and changing things could be scary because things might collapse in production and live, you need to have a really good quality assurances in place. You need to have them. When I started at my company, we had only 2, unit testing and internal testing. That's it. These 2. Unit testing covering 30% of the code base. Internal testing was just barely started, so we put an embedded QA engineer in each team. So that was an okay start. But we realized that it wasn't enough when you do big changes. It wasn't enough when you touch old code because things are affecting all the quests, affecting all the areas. So we moved from 2 to here. We increased the level of our test levels to this, and now we are here. After doing that, we're way more confident about changing things because it will be caught. It will be caught with automation. It will be caught with the manual smoke test. It will be caught in nightly builds. So this is where are we right now, and that was a huge safety net for us to be more braver. So now you see the full picture. You see, if you don't have that in place, you need to start here. When you have it here, you need to study your technical debt. When you do that, you need to be brave, and that's how it works. Besides the QA or all the processes for quality documentations, and I rarely see anyone speaks about documentation in talks. We speak about it internally. Everyone says it's important, and that's it. And no one does anything about it. Why documentation is important? Because it's basically you secure the knowledge from being trained outside of your company. Because when someone leaves, they take their knowledge with them. So we do have pieces of code that no one knows beside that person who made it and left. We have some pieces of our code only one person knows, and that person is skiing somewhere in Sweden and will be back in 6 months. And you don't want that. So what we have done to secure, you cannot go and change the past. There's no way. I hope we could, but you cannot. Whatever is not documented will be undocumented until you try to do something about it. But what you can do immediately, secure the future. Every feature you do from now on needs to be documented. No questions being asked. How to do that? How to force people to document? By introducing a KPI. That's the only way. So we introduced a KPI at my company. I believe this is the smartest move we have done. IQ 1000, I guess. We were so smart, all of us in the room. So documentation needs to be delivered within 2 weeks from the feature delivery. You do a feature, 2 weeks, I ask the team, documentation is ready. They need to say yes. If no, I mean, we cannot, things happen. So we have criteria. It's delivered on time, it's green. Few weeks after, it's yellow. After that, it's red. I present this KPI to executives every month. I look really bad sometimes when it's red or yellow. So we put the pressure on the team, on me, on everyone to deliver. And now, since like few years, we never missed the mark. Documentation is ready on time, before time, always. Now we have secured the future. What we need to do, we need to repair and try to retrieve the lost knowledge from the past. How we do that? Every time you touch an old code, you try to document that code when you build an understanding in comments, if you don't want to do like a proper documentation, or if you want to be really nice with your colleagues, you do a full like Confluence documentation or whatever. So that's how we secured the documentation part, which is really important. So take that with you, please. Add a KPI for documentation. Documentation is one of the reasons that people sometimes leave the company, because finding information is difficult. Because they try, some people are smiling because I believe when you try to find something, you go look for it. It's not there. Then you write to one of the seniors in your team, busy the whole day, come back to you next day. All you wanted is just a quick answer. So have the knowledge hub where everyone can find information will keep your employees and they will be satisfied. So it's more important than a lot of people think. On top of that, when you document, you don't know what to put the document because there's no structure. So it goes 2 ways. Even though when you try to document, it's a mess how things are located. So you need also to invest in structuring your documentation. But cool. Now we chatted about how to battle technical debt, what things we do to do the process. But how can I keep our users excited? They are all bored and angry from the constraints. They want us to move to Unreal and Unity, and it's just crazy. And how I can keep my devs excited, because not all of them want to work on boring technical debt that takes ages. So how to do that? And I'm going to share some techniques with you, and hopefully inspires you so you can do something similar. Branding. So this is a weird one. How you can change the branding for your internal tools to feel more appealing to your internal users. And by the way, just to be, I hope this is working. Yeah. So, first of all, this is the name of our engine, or it used to be. PX. It sounds like Elon Musk decided of the name. It's just the name is so weird, it's so boring. It meant something to the people who chose the name. It meant something for them. It means nothing for us, the new blood. Nothing. So I look at the name, it's like, you know what? It means nothing. No one feels inspired by the name. So I collected a team for a week, and we did a project. It's like, you know what? Let's rebrand our engine. And we were working on a big features. So we bundled that together because you cannot just go and change the name. It needs to be with something. And by the way, we have done that before Frostbite. And I have documented, by the way. So Frostbite, I'm not sure if you have seen, they have rebranded their engine publicly even by changing the logo and the mission. It's more common than you think in some cases, and the effects is amazing. So we went from PX to this. To Stellar. So this is the new name and the new logo for our engine. So we went that with this name, we shared our vision, and it was a huge change from PX means nothing to something means quality. We bundled that with the new features, boom. Not only that, to take this further, to increase transparency with the team, we created an amazing roadmap inspired by the giants in the industry, where everyone at the company can see what we are working on in a very flashy way, and they can interact with us by go and vote for if that feature is important for them, and a public roadmap. We did that in a week, rebranding of our engine. The impact was insane, because they always had this idea, PX, constraints, crashes, crappy tools. Even though we fixed a lot, the image is still there. So we had to break that somehow. And my solution was rebranding it. In 1 week, we did this, and the results were amazing. And now I feel like a lot of people were not talking about moving to finally to Unreal and Unity, and more onboarded and believed in the vision that we have created for them. When we work on in-house tools, we need to remember that this is the tools that everyone will be using in their 8 hours a day. So the tools needs to be appealing, needs to feel fresh and friendly and joyful. So I don't mind when my developers spend extra time to do something for visual or something just to add flair of joy. Those people are using our tools the whole day, and it looks fun. So this is one of our internal tools, which is the Catapult. The name is fun because it's launching apps, and it launches our in-house tools, distribution, plus it allows you to add any third parties. You have everything in one tool. What we did, we made it customizable. This is mine. I'm a more Souls fan, so you can customize the icons and you can customize a lot of things, how it looks, and this is my friend who have a completely different taste. And even though we spend more time to do this kind of customization, it pays off. Everyone is using it now. Everyone is putting their personality to the tool. Sometimes you need to give that freedom so people add this nice touch. So this is one of the techniques we have done. Second one, release notes. Man, no one reading them. When you a new app, this is what's new. Just give me the app, man. I don't care. It's similar to the agreement that we sign without knowing what we're signing. I realized that no one is reading the release notes. It's important. This is how they know what's new. This is how they know what's available for them, what would streamline their work. So my trick was storytelling. Everyone loves stories. Despite your age, despite your background, people love stories. So what I did, I started, oh no, that's a lot of clicking. Yeah, so what I did, I started to write stories from their pain. When they complain about something is so slow, so we make fun of ourselves, we tell the story, and we end it with a cheesy, would you like to know more, click here. So we start to write release notes in a story format. By doing this small tweak, the number of when you can see how many people are reading increased exponentially. So more people start to read when we start to put in a story format. And to also keep the relationship, we introduced something, it's not us we introduced, it's kind of common in some companies, called open door meeting. I didn't want to be the bottleneck with the users and the devs, so every request comes to me and I decide when it needs to happen. We want to do things differently. So we book a room, invite everyone using our tools, we leave the door open. That's the purpose. Disclaimer, they will never ever look that happy, the users. They're coming to complain, but I couldn't find a different photo. So the users will come to the room and complain. And sometimes I'm not even there. They complain to the devs directly and show them, look at this, every time I need to do this, I need to click here, click here, click here, it takes all my time. They show to the devs what's going on. Then what we do, we collect all the issues or the ideas, and guys, you can vote now. So let them choose the priority. And all of them decide, we believe this will help all of us. Perfect. Now I know which one is really important, because they had to choose only one or two. What I do after, I fast track that request, the user story, to my sprint. Every sprint, I do one user story coming from that meeting. You see the deal here. One technical depth, one user story, the rest is bugs and roadmap items. By doing that, you're fighting technical depth, your users are happy, you're fulfilling the roadmap items, and higher up are happy. This is as simple as that, guys, as simple as that. Do that and everyone is happy. Cool, so beside open door meeting, beside the joyful tools, beside giving hope, still people want to go crazy. People want to innovate. People want to do things isn't even possible. And I'm so proud that my company, we are one of the promoters of Passion Weeks. And I have been ambassador for Passion Weeks in every podcast. I have been meeting companies and give them the blueprint, and I'm going to give it to you. Passion Weeks is basically inviting the entire company for a full week to do whatever they want. I know, when you pitch it to higher up, they will go crazy. What, are you telling me a week we pay people to do nothing? They're not doing nothing. They're doing a lot, actually. In that week, you can learn any skill you want. In that week, you can work on any game you want. You can learn any feature. You can do whatever you want. We kind of advise people to not work with the people they usually work with. Try to team up with people outside your teams. Passion Weeks proven that it was the most effective things we have done. Back in the days, we used to have 2 Passion Weeks and 5 Fridays, which is a lot more common, that you have only one day, people do whatever they want. We realized that it's working really well, so we increased the number of Passion Weeks instead of. That's how much we believe in it. That's how much it's a broad value. You saw Stellar and the rebranding and the roadmap. That's a Passion Week project. I just teamed up with people I never worked with. I went to some guy, UI, UX, would you like to work with? Sure. I went to audio guy, would you like to work with me? Perfect. Assembled the team, 5 days. That's it. We delivered. I'm going to show you even more after. But let me give you the blueprint. And this is you need to take with you. This is you definitely need to take a photo and remember. How we do it. This works despite the size. This works despite the, you could do it in a team level, section level, whatever. You invite people, if it's a big company, to a brainstorming session where people sit down in a mirror, if they are not in one room, and start to brainstorm. I have this cool idea for our game. We can add this feature, a car start to fly, whatever. And they say, to do that, I need a developer, I need artist, and they can state what they need for their idea. Everyone, if they have an idea, they put it there. And people doesn't have any ideas, they can go and start to search what they want to learn or what they're interesting for them. And they pick a team and just join the team. So you end up with few ideas, with multiple teams, and some ideas won't make it. And we store these ideas in idea bank. We revive them in the next year because some people might be looking for ideas and they see something from last year super interesting. So we do 2 brainstorming sessions because my company is quite big. Then we kick off on Monday. It's a full week, as you can see, until Friday. We give people reason to be at the office every day. Candy, it always works. Candy, fika. Fika is something in Swedish means sweet and it's actually excuse not to work, but it's basically fika and dessert. So we have something daily so people come to the office. And we invite guest speakers from different gaming companies to speak about UI, UX. I invited friends, I invited people I know to that, and it was amazing. Just people like you sitting here, and we listen to a speaker who's been working fantastic games, tell us how they do it. In the last day of the week is the presentations day. If you ask anyone at Star Stable, what's your favorite days in the year? Oh, everyone will say it's the presentations day. It's where you sit down and watch the crazy ideas and what people have done in these 5 days. Companies might be afraid, or higher up might be afraid, people might not work. Actually, it's the opposite. From what I've seen, from my experience, people work harder and they crunch. Because in our company, there's no crunch policy. We have no crunch policy. You're not even allowed to, we don't compensate for extra hours. That's how we do it. People worked longer hours, but they have decided that, so we cannot really, we need to be flexible. People work more because they have the freedom and they work something they really want. And after that, we celebrate with a celebration and celebrate the great learnings and ideas. What we want from everyone who have participated in the Passion Week to document their learnings. And that's how we can, for the higher-ups to be confident that people were learning something. And it's good documentation for everyone because we have seen a pattern. Some people learned a new programming language. The year after, people want to do the same journey. So they went back to the documentation and they saw what course they should take, what was the ex-colleagues' experience. When Passion Week is over, we sit down, me, rest of the producers, and our manager, executive producer, and we look at all the ideas come from Passion Week, all of them. We put them in matrix, impact, and complexity or how hard to make these features. So we decide which one will make it to the roadmap this year, next Q. I cannot tell you how many cool features we have in our game came from Passion Week. And that's why we decided to make it more weeks. And that's why we decided to keep it. This autumn, amazing autumn set in our game came from Passion Week. Just 5 days. Photo mode. Every player in our game used photo mode all the time. This came from Passion Week. Passion Week. Some guy made this. We take it, improve a little bit upon it, and now everyone is using it. Just something just galloping to the players from Passion Week. Tessellation, snow. The same technology used in Death Stranding started from Passion Week. And this is just few examples what we have done during just Passion Week. That's just to prove in my point. It is more valuable to the company than they think, and it's up to us to sell the idea and push for it. And that was my talk. Thank you so much for being here and listening. Thank you. And if you want your feed on LinkedIn to be spammed, connect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It's time for questions.
Thank you for your presentation. So, yeah, as a developer myself, I also know that the technical debt is very, very hard thing to handle sometimes. And yeah, I wanted to maybe discuss with you. So you said that there is only one feature for Spring, for example, that we need, one technical debt task, let's say like that, for the Spring that we need to handle. It will work. But sometimes the optimization could take even much more time than the realization of the feature itself, the implementation of it, because optimization involves much more analyze work, why this thing work slowly, and how can I speed it up? So what do you do with it? So it could take the whole Spring, not just, I don't know, couple of days, but.
Yeah, I see your point. There's some things fits with this one ticket per sprint category. What you're speaking about fits to do analysis and analyzing the importance of doing it, connecting that with the business KPIs. Then you need to allocate time in the roadmap. This is an item needs to be in, and we have a lot of them. Optimization, because optimization affects the player experience, affects the performance, affects the FPS, memory, crashes. And that's something I don't believe you need to do it with this one ticket sprint. I believe that's something you need to be allocated time for it. And you want their devs to dive into, have an understanding, and focus on it. So I would say that one doesn't fit in the category of one ticket a sprint. That's definitely what you need to actually allocate time for it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thanks. And another question is, if I can, right? Okay, about documentation. So you said that you delivered documentation at least 2 weeks after the feature. Yep. So you don't, it means you don't have a time for, so when you create a ticket, you have some analyzing for this ticket, implementation, I say sub-tickets in Jira or whatever you use, and some documentation. You don't have sub-tickets for that, so you can close the ticket without delivering documentation. It's not a part of the feature implementation itself.
Yeah, it's really important to understand, when we develop a feature, it's never going to be over. It's not like a clean cut. It's always going to be maintenance, some leftovers, some unit testing needs to happen. It's rare to see epics that's, oh, now it's done, clean cut, now let's move on. It's always some leftovers. And documentation is something we do during development. Sometimes we add a ticket for documentation. We say in the epic, document this. And we always encourage developers not to wait until the end, to do it gradually as they go. And we always ask the users to chime in and help, because sometimes it's something in user-facing. So when I say user in this context, I mean internal users. So they can help out. So we do it during development. We add a ticket for it, and we have it in the epic. And sometimes we deliver the documentation, the epic's still alive. Then what we do, we close the epic and we make epic part 2 for whatever maintenance, whatever improvements in the future. But like I said, it's rarely the epics will be over. But every big milestone needs to be documented. Even though like half of the feature there you need to document whatever you have delivered, especially if it's active. Sometimes we have more flexibility if it's behind a feature flag. So the code is not active. It's there, but it's not activated yet. So that's fine. We're not considered fully implemented until it's active and by default. Cool. Thank you for the questions. We should chat more.
More questions?
Just an amazing talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I was impressed a couple times. And I also have a question that's related to engine rebranding. Like, how do you deal with doubters in the team? I mean, like, I got the point why you did it. But, like, for example, for some people, it may stay the same. Like, it is the same engine. Okay, we introduced some new features, but, like, at the end, I don't like working with it. I don't like working in these conditions. How do you deal with these people?
Deal with people wants to move to new engine to.
Yeah. Like, and they are not satisfied with rebranding and like with the visions. They don't want to wait. But like, your move is great.
Yeah. So it happened to us, and people come to us like, let's move to new engine. And I just saw that. And when they do that, they don't have an understanding what does it take to move to new engine, and they don't understand the privilege of having your own engine, because every engine is tailored to your game. What you can do with your engine, it's not possible with any engine. And all big games are using commercial engines. They have invested a lot in their tools to make this game, the game looks like it is like today. Have you seen the GTFO? It's a game done by 10 Chambers. They are friends from Sweden. There's no way you believe this game done in Unity. No way. The game is like, I don't believe it's Unity. I was like, seriously. But they invested a lot in tools to make that happen. Same, that's how commercial engine, that's our in-house engine. So our engine really tailored to our game. What can we do with our engine? I don't believe it's possible with any commercial, but that comes with a cost. So we need to explain to them, to show them the positive side, why this is a good to know. So we need to have a dialogue with them. It's gonna be hard. They are frustrated, so it's really need to know why they are angry. Usually this kind of feedback comes after a crash or a hiccup or some task taking longer than it should in different engines. They're just not gonna come to you and just suggest moving to new engine. So it happened after an incident, and how we contain that, the open door meeting, it's a really good way. Survey for our editor, we do that every year. I send a survey to the entire company, asking them about to rate all our tools and everything. And man, the results were insane. I took all these results, put it in AI, and this is, I believe, a good AI usage to see the trend. So I saw the trend in every request. All of them, they were so happy with our search tools. Everyone. At the same time, everyone believed that search tools could be improved, and everyone was wanting more from search tools. I know exactly what to do next year. And now we're working on the search tools in editor. So just have a dialogue with them, create multiple channels so they can express and act on it, and they will come to you with less this kind of request in the future. Thank you for the question. You're welcome.
Nice presentation. Thank you. I have a question about, because you mentioned you had a single player game, and you switched to the multiplayer. My question is, where's the threshold of the decision that we want to improve already existing feature game, or maybe it's better to kill the feature and write it from scratch?
Oh man, this is a tough one. If I can go back in time, man, I would definitely build a new game, 100%. I'm so happy we have this product right now. I'm really proud of the product that we have built, but we're paying the cost of that cutting corners. Until today, 13 years, man, of tech and suffering because of that decision, that day.
The small decision, like a search bar. Like maybe you thought, okay, this search working totally bad, so we could improve step by step each sprint, or maybe just kill it, leave as it is, and work in the background into the new engine.
Really good question. Majority of the times we do it simultaneously. That's the only way, because you have live product, it's so complex, it takes a long time. So what do? We develop the feature alongside the old one, feature flags. We use feature flags everywhere. We use server feature flags. So I am able to activate something on the fly from the server. Oh, something is crashing, boom, flip back to. The only way to do that is by doing actually feature flags in code, server flags from the server backend, and having simultaneously developing things. Plus, this also affects how you publish your new features. You need to start with the new continents. If So we start only with Australia because it's contained, or we start with, we have more control, so we start in Sweden because we have the right support for it. It's only a small region, and they're friendly. So when something goes banana, they don't get really mad. So we have this. So sometimes we activate features in one country, we expand. This is the only way to do it in this big scale. And now I'm talking about MMO game, 500,000 active, like that's what I'm talking about. But really depends on the product, but our approach always simultaneous and feature flags. Thank you for the question.
If I can, one more quick
Sure.
question, because you mentioned about this week of the freedom. It's
Yes.
a great idea. My question is about the size limit, because I imagine there is a company that have 10 workers, 10 employers.
Yeah.
What is your suggestion to when to start this kind of features?
When you are not sure how the perception or the outcome will be for the size of the company, I mean, when we do it, we're talking about 200 something. In our case, everyone is invited, even legal, HR, everyone. Everyone can do whatever they want, and man, the results are amazing. What people are doing is just insane. It's something they always wanted to do, and actually, half of them, they do something it's in the backlog. But they believe it needs to be fast-tracked. They disagree with my decision and the higher-up decisions. Let's do it. So like I said, overall, it's a good investment. But when you are in the case your company is a bit small, you're not sure the impact, start with one day. Start with one day only. Let people brainstorm. And the real value, even though the outcome might be not up to the standard, the brainstorming part. When everyone sits in the room, there is no limitation. You can do and say whatever you want. You're literally unlocking the creativity to the maximum. So I would say brainstorming in itself is just great value. So start with one day a week, or one day, decide a few weeks, put one day, and take it from there. That's how we started. We start with one day, then we start to one day, then mix in between. So what people are doing, use the full day to think about what to do in the week. So they plan, they do everything, and when the week starts, man, they're like already awake at 8 and boom, working full speed. So that's my recommendation, to start with small. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.